It's the Infinite Podcast. Go tell your friends. It's the Infinite Podcast. My God, it never ends. It's the Infinite Podcast with Rob and Cork the Kid.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to another episode of the Project Infinite Podcast, the podcast covering the infinite and ever-expanding multiverse of fandom from movies, comics, TV shows, video games. We got you covered. I'm Rob. I'm here, as always, with Court. Court, how's it going, man?
Going good. CinemaCon was upon us.
It's happened again. It happened again. It does this to us. This happens every week. We do a thing early, and then the next day...
Yeah, they said, what if we released every trailer ever?
It's maddening. Because last week, what did we have? One thing in news?
One thing in news, and then
Adam
the next day, CinemaCon said, well, let's give you 10 trailers to pick from.
So we're going to talk about that. But the main reason we're here is to talk about Guardians of the Galaxy, because Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3 is coming out this week, and, you know, the critical consensus has been mixed, but also, I don't know where movie critics are anymore on superhero movies.
I'd say it's been pretty positive from what I've seen from, like, the compiling of reviews via Twitter, YouTube, whatever it may be. People are digging this movie. I mean, it might just be also a familiarity thing where, like, you know, they're already familiar with the Guardians. This isn't like a brand new team, a new project that's being released. So to put that in their corner. But I just don't expect anything less than something special from James Gunn in his last outing and with the team that he's, you know, but his team that he picked to be in this first Guardians of the Galaxy movie, and seeing how far they've come to being, you know, it's funny how, like, the Fantastic Four are Marvel's first family, but, like, the Guardians of the Galaxy are the MCU's first family.
Yeah, that's a good way of looking at it. I like that. So, yeah, we're going to talk about that. We're both super excited for that movie. But first, we do have a bunch of trailers and just kind of CinemaCon news. First and foremost, as by the bylaws of this podcast, is Dune. So, we got a Dune teaser trailer that's accompanied with some set photos and stills from the film, and we're gonna get a full trailer tomorrow. As we're recording this, it's Tuesday, May 2nd, so May 3rd we're gonna get a trailer for Dune Part 2, and full steam ahead, I guess.
I mean, when you talk about, like, a feel of a world in a movie, it's just absolute control over that world, and it gives me that feeling, like that true feeling of, like, that wonder, like. And it's funny, we talked about Lord of the Rings a couple weeks, like, that's how, I mean, Dune's got a little to prove before it hits the Return of the King level, but for all intents and purposes, I mean, you have a team working on that movie that is absolutely incredible, and it just, from, you know, what all the cast is saying, what Denise saying, what Greg Fraser's saying, what Hans Zimmer's talking about, they're saying that this movie is, like, truthfully going to be one of the more special sequels to any movie of all time, so I just absolutely cannot wait. Like, I'm not gonna lie, like, it gave me chills watching that, like, little, just him punching the dirt or the sand in the desert, and then him putting the thumper in there, and then it's everything you want. I mean, spoilers for the Dune book, I guess, but obviously there's a big battle. It's a sci-fi world, so the second half of the book contains a pretty substantial battle. So I told you before I hopped on, my super hot take is whatever the Sardaukar battle is going to be, like the Harkonnen and Sardaukar battle versus the Fremen, I think it's going to be probably one of the more, like, touted and more, you know, pristine live action battle sequences that we've seen. I said it to you before we hopped on too. Denis Villeneuve's last 6 movies are Prisoners, Sicario, Blade Runner 2049, Arrival, Dune 1, and Dune 2. That's a heck of a 6-movie run to have. I mean, you're talking all movies that are, I think every single one of those movies were nominated, if not won something at the Academy Awards. I mean, he's one of the best filmmakers on the planet, and that's just there's no if, and, or but about that for me. So this world is special, and I think it's something to be discovered. It's a reality to be experienced, as said in the Dune movie. So I absolutely cannot wait. I mean, so some additions to this movie. So the main cast is back, minus Duke Leto Atreides, R.I.P. to a real one. But yeah, you have Timothée Chalamet's back, Zendaya's back, you have Rebecca Ferguson's back, Dave Bautista's back, Skarsgård is back. You got your mains back, but a couple additions. I mean, the big two are Fade Rotha, Harkonnen, Austin Butler. Will he be doing the Elvis voice? We don't know yet. And I mean, the big one for me is getting Florence Pugh in there too. I think you put Florence Pugh in something people are going to watch, and having her play Princess Irulan, all you simps out there are going to have a fun time with this love triangle they're going to build in this movie too. So, man, I cannot wait. And then also you have Christopher Walken playing Shaddam the Fourth. That's, man, this movie it has everything that I would want, like the sci-fi world. It's got great storytelling. I mean, Greg Fraser's visuals are just, I mean, and it shows his range too, because he literally did the Batman and Dune, which are like two very different looking movies, but both movies that are just look absolutely incredible. Just shows your range. I mean, you have Hans Zimmer doing the score for your movie, which, I mean, he's modern day John Williams. Like, you don't get anybody else besides him. And I mean, having Denis at the helm, it's just, you feel this world is going to be not only lived in, but war torn, and I think the character arcs in this movie are going to be a lot more defined. I think you're going to spend a lot more time. I hope this movie's like 3 hours long. Like, I think this movie will justify a 3-hour runtime. So
yeah, I agree. And I think the coolest thing about this movie is it's kind of doing what Avatar Way of the Water did, where like Avatar 1 was kind of the foundational piece, like, right, built the world out, it immersed us in this place. And then what Way of the Water did when we talked about it in our review was it leaned into the character stuff and really developed a really compelling story.
Right.
And I think Dune Part 2 is kind of slated for the exact same thing.
Right.
Like, they threw this big world at us, they introduced us to the characters more or less, and now we're going to be able to play in the sandbox a little bit for a second movie. And I think that's really going to open this movie up and elevate it to the next level as a really great sequel.
Right.
Is what I think kind of it's positioning in itself for, because
Agreed.
He's got the visuals down, he's got the score down, he's got the world building down. Now it's just bring the characters up.
Yeah.
Elevate the characters, and that's what we're primed for.
Yeah. You looking forward to anybody specifically in this movie?
I'm just looking forward to the next evolution of Paul.
Yeah, because and I forget who I was saying this to, but Dune is like, it is the sci-fi, like Dune is the classic sci-fi story. So Paul Atreides was probably one of the more complex characters you can have, because he's not a traditional main character for any intensive purpose. He is much a complicated, not convoluted, but it's a complicated, it's a complicated story that's kind of woven throughout him, and it's more of this fact that, like, what I really like, and it's something that Frank Herbert talked about, it's just like, we look at these people, and I think he was talking about, because he wrote this book in the 60s, he was using, the Kennedys especially, and he said, like, we look at them as like the all good, and it's not that simple. Like, it will never be that simple. So it's something that he really wanted to lean into, and not a lot of spoilers, but maybe minor spoilers. But Paul Atreides is not this like upstanding morality, black and white type of person. Like, it's much more complicated, and especially, and a good litmus test is Game of Thrones. Seeing the who's the goodest, like who's the greatest of good. It's probably the closest is like Ned Stark was, but look what happened to Ned Stark immediately. Yeah. So I think that's a good place to kind of, put a marker in and say, like, hey, if that's what good looks like, then Paul Atreides is, especially as he turns into like the Mahdi, it gets so further and further away from that. So I just want to see how he bounces off of Zendaya, like how their characters kind of interact with each other. Like I said, Florence Pugh, and then, I mean, now we might enter into, depending on what they do, and I think this fight sequence as well is probably going to be, pretty incredible. Like, him versus Fade Rotha, like Austin Butler and Timothée Chalamet, they talked about it, like the two of them a couple months ago, like how incredible they were together. Like, they might also enter into like one of the more memorable rivalries in cinema. So I just, everything about this movie is pointing to greatness. Yeah.
So definitely tune in next week for our breakdown of the full trailer.
Yeah.
Other news out of CinemaCon, Wonka was given a trailer that we have not seen, but by all accounts, it's going to be great.
Right.
So, the Willy Wonka origin story, starring Timothée Chalamet. still don't know what to expect from this movie.
I mean,
which is fine.
Right.
I think that's
the
fine.
thing you want to capture, and I think they're going to they're probably going to make this a little bit more, because I feel like, that Gene Wilder, absolute classic is just, you have that feeling, and I don't know if there's something in the water in the 70s, like when you get Star Wars, it's that mystery and wonder, like it's that wonderment
and a quiet menace.
Quiet menace he is, but there's just something about the way that the 70s, like the mid 70s, were crafting their movies that just made them just super incredible. So you want to capture that wonder, and that wonder also comes from the music too. I wonder if they're gonna have him sing and do the up and down. I know Timothée Chalamet is been on he's been on Broadway. I mean, that was his first, the stage was his first thing that he was doing out of high school. So he's got a really, I mean, we've already talked about it. I genuinely think this guy is just touted for probably one of the most famous careers of our generation of an actor. We talked a lot about Jonathan Majors, but Timothée Chalamet quickly is the same, Leo was on that same kind of path. And I know that might be blasphemous for some people of where Leo is right now, but he's got his franchise down. He's already been nominated for an Oscar, and he's just been, I always look at who you work with too, who these directors, and it's funny, people always go to trust the reviewers. I always trust the directors first on a lot of things, and just, Luca Guadagnino, Martin Scorsese, what they all say about him, and it's just he's a 2-time Academy Award nominee. So he's 26. So he's got a career ahead of him. He's not even 30 yet, and he's already going to be. He already is one of the most famous people on the actors on the planet. So
yeah.
I think that movie could be pretty fun. I think maybe cut it from the Barbie mold. If we're gonna do these roundabout, borderline could be cheesy things, put some cinema to it if we're gonna do it.
Yeah, I totally agree. We got Transformers.
I'm in.
It looks good, man. It looks fun.
I am in.
It looks like Transformers.
It looks like Transformers, but more with a little bit more, what's the word I'm looking for? It's just got a little bit more subtlety, which is a funny word to use for Transformers, but
yeah, I think more importantly than anything is that the animations all are stellar. In a movie that really relies on animating team to get this stuff down. I mean, the fact that there's so much transforming happening on screen is a testament to the animation and kind of where the Bay movies kind of fell off towards the end. A lot of the transforming was happening off screen. You would hear the effect and then they would be robots or vice versa. But we're seeing a lot of moving parts and a lot of things happening on screen. Not a lot of camera cuts.
Not a lot of camera cuts, which I appreciate. And also, one thing about the third acts and all those Bay movies where they were so loud and it's so much information to process, where it's just, and a lot of the color palettes were the same, which versus this, there's nothing crazy about this, but it feels a little bit more refined and defined in my opinion. So yeah. I see the vision. And one thing that maybe you should focus on is the Transformers themselves, and I think Bumblebee understood that. And I mean, I think Bumblebee is a solid bridge period, because it's all right, we understand what the Transformers are the Transformers, but also we get Haley Steinfeld, so we need to do this. I feel as if this movie is going to be very much the Transformers are the main characters, and that's how it should be. Obviously, your human surrogates are going to be there for, the audience to connect to, but we're still going to do a lot of character work through our Transformers. Incredible character work. I look at The Last Night and it's nuts how The Last Night took some of the absolute biggest swings for a franchise that just never did any payoff. So
yeah. And I mean, this Rise of the Beast is kind of,
they soft rebooted, right?
Yeah, because Unicron was in this Rise of the Beast trailer.
Yeah, right. And Unicron's the villain of this thing, yeah.
Yeah, so, and in case anyone forgot, The Last Night, Unicron was the Earth.
Yeah.
Man.
Yeah.
Anthony Hopkins was in that movie.
Anthony Hopkins. Well, they dragged poor Anthony Hopkins into this.
So I think that looks really fun. I think that movie kicking off, the June stuff, it's right in the beginning,
Yeah,
right?
It is in the beginning of June, yeah. So that movie's fast approaching. Hey, as soon as Friday hit, Thursday night, it's on. As soon as Thursday night happens, it is full steam ahead until the end of the year, until December, essentially. Yeah. Hunger
Games is back. We got the first full trailer for The Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes. it looks good. It also invokes a lot of, hey, remember this thing?
Yeah, yep. And I think it's because the young adult era has kind of surpassed this. I think we're out of the young adult phase, so this movie has a little bit more, like, it's got a little bit more to climb than setting it apart from me, like, hey, we're in the young adult genre, to being like, hey, this is a film that people should go see. I was definitely intrigued, and I mean, you get Rachel Zegler, that's definitely a big get to
Viola
have. Viola Davis as well, Peter Dinklage, like, you're getting some pretty big name actors in there too. As long as you invoke that Hunger Games feeling, I think one thing that Hunger Games does well is subtlety. I think there's a lot of, and it was in the first Hunger Games movie, and down to like the camera work, like, you know, having that handheld camera a lot of the time, I thought was really a really good decision too, to get people more immersed. That's what a handheld does a lot in my opinion. So if they can invoke some of that feeling, because I know you're going to try to go for a big swing in this, like, it's your Hunger Games is back in like the 2020s versus like Hunger Games owning the young adult phase, which the young adult in Marvel really owned like the 2010s. Like, you got a lot of fighting to do.
I also liked what I did like about this trailer was the primitive nature of everything.
Yep,
like,
I love it.
It's familiar but different. Yeah, which I think is the best way to do it.
The arena's like the size of like a high school gym versus it's
how you'd imagine kind of like how the Hunger Games started. This gladiatorial-esque arena that wasn't so reliant on the technology and the shifting of the arenas and deploying these like monsters. It's literally just all these tributes just getting in an arena, grabbing some weapons and having at it. Yeah. And I think that's always in my estimation the best way to do a prequel is familiar but different. Like the Star Wars prequels, I think, did this to some degree. Familiar but different. I think that's what this trailer did, and it seems like they're definitely going to lean in on the relationship between young Tom Blythe's young Snow and Rachel Zegler's character, which is going to retroactively make people watch the other movies, right? Because it's like the Anakin Skywalker thing. Like now people are going to watch. How did he
turn into this?
Yeah, they're going to watch, you know, Tom Blythe turn into Donald Sutherland, and it's gonna, in a weird way, it's gonna like accentuate Snow's relationship with Katniss in the later movies, because Rachel Zegler's character is a tribute from District 12. Right. So yeah, I'm looking forward to it. I have not read the book yet, but by all accounts, it's very good. So I might check it. But I also might be ignorant. I might be ignorant this time. I might see the movie first and then read the book. Right. Like, I kind of want to see what's going on with the screen before I actually see what's on the page. Be nice to be surprised. Denzel's back. The Equalizer.
Sure is.
I love those first two movies.
I mean, man, just add them to the assassin / secret agent / John Wick mold of just these really cool characters that come along and that are just, you know, can take anybody out in a room. He gets it. And it was so cool to have, like, it either had to be Denzel or Tom Hanks, and Denzel got there first, essentially. So, man, you got that. It's the thing about a sequel is you got to get that feeling back, but you got to do something innovative. I think that's that's one of the biggest works that sequels have to them. I think this Equalizer 3 trailer does it. I think it does it. And, you know, as long as your action's tight, because now the action bar in the 2020s is starting to get rise, and it keeps rising. Like, the bar is getting, and it's funny, we talked about it before we hopped on, like, Kaczynski for the, you know, action of like vehicles and like stuff, like he's understanding, he gets it, and he's got a hold on it. And now the John Wick director, he's got a hold on like that hand to hand. He's the goal. I mean, everybody seeks him out now, and that team out, and that stunt team out to do any hand to hand action at this point. So Dakota Fanning's back.
Yeah.
I was not.
That's
I'm
awesome.
Not gonna lie.
That's so awesome.
Man
it's like
on
a
fire.
Spiritual Man on Fire sequel.
Yep.
Which is freaking awesome. And then the last bit from CinemaCon is The Flash. So another trailer for The Flash. We're a month away-ish. I don't know what it is, man, but this I get the reverence from what people are saying, and I could be surprised and I could be blown away by this movie, but these trailers just are not doing anything for me, and I can't put my finger on why, but I don't know. It feels just like I guess that's what a trailer is a series of moments, but like these moments are not like blowing me away. And I can't really explain why.
I mean,
but it's just a feeling.
It's more of like an earned thing, right? Like there's what's earned from this, and I mean they even before the Ezra Miller stuff they were already in a pickle. Like they were already in a situation of like, you know, we might have to be rebooting this whole thing, and I think the Ezra Miller stuff really like put the nail in the coffin. But I'm 85% to you because I'm still a nerd at the end of the day, so I still can't look past some of it and still not be a little bit like, hey, that's the Flash. That's my favorite DC character, or my second favorite DC character. Like, it's still kind of cool. Like, seeing him, you know, a live action movie Flash. Like, the only thing is, you know, for me, it's more of like a Barry Allen issue. Like, I've just never seen Ezra Miller as Barry Allen. I think that's the thing that's getting me the most. Like, I don't feel him as Barry Allen as much as, like, it's tough, and I don't even want to say it, but as much as Grant Gustin embodies, like, comic Barry Allen, like, you know, just those little things and those little mannerisms, and, like, you know, he's got a lot of, like, funny stoicism to him, and, like, you know, he's a kid that grew up, essentially, and had to grow up fast because of what happened to him and because of circumstance. But so just the trailer itself, we see Barry Allen and he makes a decision. So this movie's that's going to be Flashpoint. So the Flashpoint comic, to sum it up very, very quickly, Barry decides, hey, I can't live without my mom. Like, I can't live without her. So he goes back, saves his mom. And then once he gets back, the whole timeline has changed. So in the comic, it was, what did we get? The Atlantean. So there's no Justice League. The Atlanteans and the Amazonians are in a war that's literally tearing the Earth apart. Superman, there's no Superman. Batman, Bruce Wayne's dead, so Thomas Wayne is Batman, and Martha Wayne turned into the Joker. Cyborg's leading like this, like, you know, this almost rebel group of the Justice League, essentially. And I think that's it. And Barry doesn't have his powers anymore. Those are the big beats. So he goes to Thomas Wayne. He's just like, hey, I know your son. don't think I'm crazy. They get his powers back, and then you find out that Reverse Flash, he did. So the first implication is like, oh shoot, so this is all Reverse Flash's fault. He's the one that did this. And then probably one of my favorite twists, like, it's got to be on like the upper echelon of twists in comics, is like Reverse Flash is like, no, I'm here, but I just wanted to see what you did because you're the one that actually did this. I think that twist is it's a weird twist because it's like, oh shoot, like, he had nothing to do with this, but he just wants to see you on your worst day type of thing. So, but they fix it in the end. Timeline gets restored, and the Flashpoint leads right into the New 52, if I'm not mistaken. Yep. So, for the movie, it seems like it's going to do that, but it's also going to be just for the DCEU. So essentially he's going to go back, save his mom, but then there's no Superman. So Zod comes to Earth and he's essentially might be successful in that. What else do we get and it's pretty much the same, like, but instead of Thomas Wayne, he goes to Michael Keaton's universe, or is Michael Keaton? I don't know, man. Yeah, there's a lot. There's a lot going
happening. There's a lot of Batman in this trailer.
Well, I guess let's talk about the Batman in the room, because
it's a lot of Batman.
This is the Batman point. Bat point.
I told you this when I saw the trailer. I hated the title card reveal of the Bat symbol, the Supergirl symbol, and then the Flash. I'm like, it's a Flash movie. Mm-hmm. Can we just keep this movie about the Flash, please? But no, we're not. We're not gonna. And you can't make me. So I don't know. I just got to deal with that part of it, I guess. And I told you this too. Like, I never had that affinity for Keaton's Batman, like, as like my Batman. Like, my Batman was always the Kevin Conroy Batman in the animated series Batman. You know, I didn't really have an affinity for an on-screen live-action Batman until Bale. Mm-hmm. So, like, the Keaton pop doesn't really do much for me in the same vein that the Tobey Maguire thing did, or the Andrew Garfield thing did for Spider-Man No Way Home. And at the end of the day, with Spider-Man No Way Home, which I know this movie is drawing a lot of comps to, like, those two characters are still Spider-Man. Like, right. that movie still had to tie up stuff with their characters too, whereas, like, I'm not sure where Keaton fits into this.
Yeah, I mean, this might also be in response to having Ezra Miller still be the star of the movie. Is that, hey, let's get somebody that people are gonna resonate with, and like having his Batman there. Like all of this seems such like a PR move to make. It's like Michael Keaton's almost like the main character. Like he's like, the main character, but like the wise old sage character.
This trailer did a lot of Keaton character work,
right?
Where he talks about, I wish I could go back and save my parents, this, that, and the other thing. Like, there's a lot of unresolved Keaton character work going on in this trailer that I'm just like, all right, I guess we're doing this. So, I don't know. We'll see June 12th, basically, is where we're at now.
Yeah. So the reviews are good. The reviews were, like, overwhelmingly positive because they did show them an uncompleted version or, like, a mostly completed version of this movie at CinemaCon.
No post-credit scene?
No post-credit scene, which ... But yeah, some people were over the moon. Some people were on the James Gunn train of this might be one of the best comic book movies. Some people were like, it's good. It's like, it's solid. It's not that, but it's still pretty good. My concerns are CGI. I don't know. It feels very rubbery and glossy, and like, it's just, my fear is that it's so close to the finished product, to the finish line, where I'm like, I don't know how I feel about this. I also might have a villain problem because, like, yes, you're pulling Zod. Yes, Zod's probably one of my more favorite villains from a superhero project, but it's gonna be the Reverse Flash, right? Or or Barry Allen. It's like, it's gonna be that the other Barry 100%. Was is probably gonna be the villain. So.
And whether or not, and can they pull that off?
Right.
Is the other, like, when does that twist happen? And
the thing is, you're doing so much work for the DC EU, because if they are going to lean into, like, this being, like, Flashpoint, like, so one of the post-credit scenes, and I told you, like, I think he is going to reset the whole timeline to get us to the DCU. So, like, whatever he does is going to get us to, like, whenever the new Superman's playing the new Superman. Like, that's all this movie is going to do. Which is, like, that's fine, but I just don't know how that's going to go off with audiences that, like, didn't see the Snyder Cut or, like, are confused on where the Justice League is at this point. Like, we went from the to the Batman or Man of Steel. Like, if I'm hitting, like, the main beats of the universe, like, it's Man of Steel, Batman vs. Superman, the Snyder Cut, and then the Flash movie are, like, the ones where, like, all right, these actually are, like, the things that need to do with, like, the overarching story of this thing. Yeah. And this universe has been going on for 10 years. It's been 10 years of this, so look at where Marvel was during. They were at Infinity War at year 10, and then look at where the DCEU is
starting over again.
Yeah, and they're at Flashpoint at year 10, and, like,
as the first Flash movie,
no Green Lantern movie,
first and only Flash movie. You had a movie that needed to be reshot. You had movies that were bombed. So. Man, here's to James Gunn's DCU. I have faith. We'll see. So that's pretty much it.
Yeah,
for CinemaCon stuff.
Yeah, I just, like, we got Martin Scorsese's back, Killers of the Flower Moon. got some details. Oppenheimer. We're gonna probably get the trailer right before the Guardians movie's gonna come out.
Yep.
We're getting. Fast X. They talked about a little bit.
Yep.
We're in. We're in no matter what. Mission Impossible: Dead Reckoning is getting moved up to July 12th now. The Napoleon movie with Joaquin Phoenix.
Yep.
Quiet Place Day One with Joseph Quinn and Lupita Nyong'o. I think some people were saying, like, the executives were saying that movie's going to probably play really well, too. So, we got some stuff to look forward to, man. There's probably going to be some really cool stuff in there. And this year and next year are going to be, man, gotta love as Nellie Leroy said in Babylon, 8 movies grand.
Yeah, but they may not be so grand for much longer, because that segues into our kind of like CNN type style breaking news. Not breaking news, but kind of important news, and that we're potentially embarking on another writer's strike. So, for those of you who may not be aware or weren't around, what was the last one? 10, 15 years ago?
I forget what year it was, but I can't even remember the movies that it was affecting, but yeah, that seems about right. It was like 10 to 15 years ago. And
it had a big effect on the movie business and the TV business. And I mean, at the end of the day, we're both creatives, and it's, I'm definitely pro writers on this.
Sure.
Especially as it relates to, I know they want a lot of things kind of corralled as it relates to AI, which is becoming a problem.
Yeah. There's the big two where it was the AI because they're starting to get afraid like that.
They should.
Yeah, they're like, and you know what is probably going to affect AI are like pilots of like TV shows are probably just going to be like executive. It's like hilarious. It's like a Black Mirror episode of like it's like a Black Mirror of like the studio execs, like the movie studio execs that just walk in there just like the dumb ad lib like hits the table, green light the thing. Like I have a feeling they're probably just going to go to like some ABC, NBC pilots and be like, just click the shift key and just generate me a pilot, and then we'll just figure it out after that. Like, or generate the whole script and we'll figure it out. Like, that's scary. And like, that's the world we're living in. Like, the future might all like Skynet future might not always be so bright. So that's 1A. 1B is the streaming service in the room. So the other big piece is the fact that these writers are feeling as if they're working like day to day. Like they're just feeling like they're being picked up to write an episode of something, and like there's no job security in that. Like there needs to be like a, plans in place, like, and it goes down to just like basic like human needs and rights, like insurances, like stuff like that. So it's scary. Like it could be scary. Like imagine you get hot for a show and like you do this and then like you have a career, but like what if you direct one episode of a show where like the director's such a big deal where like people forget it's you, and like they bring somebody else in to finish the work off. So yeah,
it's crazy. And a lot of the late night shows have already shut down production.
Yeah, SNL, they stopped. So SNL's not, because SNL is, if you don't know, SNL is like writer based, like they are writer centric. So they're on hold for a little. I know Pete Davidson, I think, was supposed to have his own episode. That's been shelved for a little bit. They're just going to show reruns. I know, saw Rob Lowe out there, and I know Rob Lowe does a lot of cable television stuff. So I saw him out there today. So yeah, it's a scary thing, man. And I mean, this is, grass always greener until you hit the sand. Like it's the beauty of the streaming service is like, there's so many voices that get to be heard. There's so many different variations on things that you would have never seen in like the 2000s or the 90s or the 80s. But this is the other side to it of like, it's a lot of one-hit wonder business, and like, people don't have security and stability. Like that's the scare. And like writers aren't these actors that are like, can put their face on a screen and like could just be a model day. Like they have to live off writing. Like, and it's tough because there's how many people want to be a writer of something. We know like how many people want to be a writer of something that's great. Yeah. So it's so difficult to sustain that. And now you have streaming services on top of that, like a litany that will be like, all right, we'll just go to the next person. And then you're telling me a computer can just write what I want for this? Like, that's fear.
Yeah. So it's going to be an interesting next, could potentially be next couple years, depending on how long this goes on. Because we saw this during the last writer's strike. A lot of movies and TV shows really suffered because these writers are where they are for a reason. Mm-hmm. And, I thought the execs might have understood that by now, but maybe not. No, and I think, again, it's the streaming thing. Like, they're probably like, oh, well, we can just go on social media and be like, you want to be a writer on this next show? Like, enter in. And, like, these writers that have been in Hollywood for years are like, why am I not getting this call first? So, yeah. So moving on to a little Arrowverse talk. So we're on the home stretch of the Arrowverse. Mm-hmm. We're down to the final 4 episodes of The Flash, and this past episode we got a return of the titular Arrow in the Arrowverse. So Stephen Amell returned. Spoilers for season 9, episode 9 of The Flash. We got the return of Oliver Queen, and it was great. Yep. Man. You get chills seeing the two of them together. Like, that's Batman and Superman for TV is Oliver and Barry. Like, they fit so seamlessly together. And, my favorite thing is, like, how relationships evolve too. Like it's very conscious of like where they were when he ran to Starling City, all the way back in Arrow season 3 and Flash season 1, where he ran there and he had to talk to Oliver, to where they are now. Like, that's truthfully his brother. I mean, his brother that sadly passed away, but still lives on in episodes like this, or like
it's the height of what makes these cheesy, like those quote unquote cheesy CW shows work, is like getting episodes like this. So
yeah, they play the hits, man.
They play the hits.
That's basically what this episode was. Felt as much a kind of epilogue to the Green Arrow, even more so than, I mean, both of us were quite high on how season 8 of Arrow ended as a send off for the character, but this felt like the proper send off,
right? And I mean,
character.
the Arrow season 8 was also Crisis on Infinite Earth, so you're pulling the biggest DC story of all time to try to fit in a last season. Why does Arrow always had to hit the big things that they needed to do, always had to conflict with something? Like their 200th episode also had to be the crossover week. Their last episode also had to be the last season also had to be Crisis. But the Arrow writers really stuck strong, and I just love also Stephen Amell's evolution as an actor too. Like he feels so night and day than what he was in season 1 to season 8, or season 8, and in this, like it's control and command over his character.
There were some great emotional moments. I mean, finally got a resolution between Oliver and Dig, which was nice. They actually wrote the idea of the whole Green Lantern mess, and they made sense, which I didn't think they could do that, but the way Oliver frames it is like that box was temptation, and you spurned it in pursuit of your family, and I was like, wow, that's kind of a neat way to write your way out of that. Like, I thought that was pretty cool. There was some just great, it just felt like everybody from the writing to the acting, everyone felt like they brought their A game for this episode. Danielle Panabaker was behind the camera. She directed this episode. Did a great job capturing that Arrow fight scene chaos. Oliver had a nice little one-take fight scene, which kind of Arrow kind of popularized, at least in the superhero genre, which was cool. We got a You Failed the City, which was great.
Play the hits, man.
Play the hits. Got some good Arrow riffs. And like I said, just served as a nice epilogue to the Green Arrow character. Stephen Amell's done a couple interviews over the last week saying he would absolutely come back in a limited capacity to somewhere. He said, the 22 episode Gran doesn't really interest him, but
no, it's a lot, man. If
it was a movie or a mini series, whatever the case, I know he's definitely talked about HBO Max in the past. Potentially wanted Max.
It's Max.
He's definitely wanted to do something with them. And I would imagine James Gunn would be open to it.
Sure, like a Elseworlds, like just a one shot, like. Man, these streaming, and I think Marvel's getting it, and they're starting to understand, like, these one-shots were, like, the Guardian Special and Werewolf by Night, like, they get it. Like, Max is a perfect place to put, like, just a one-off, hour-long, like, one more excursion for him,
Yeah, I would agree. And I think James Gunn is definitely open to, if there's a groundswell for certain things, he'll just throw it out there and see if he can develop it. And Stephen Amell's definitely taken steps with his career in terms of developing TV.
Yeah, yep.
When you think about, he did Code 8, he did Heels, which is very popular. So he's definitely turned into like an ideas man,
right?
As far as like developing TV. So I wouldn't put it past him to develop some type of Green Arrow type of storyline that he could pitch to James Gunn and company. So we'll see. And then with the Flash, these final 4 episodes are going to be one arc that's going to be Barry returning to the past and confronting the Reverse Flash, played by Matt Letcher, coming back as Eobard Thawne. So they're going to let this final arc kind of breathe and kind of make a big, like a mini series kind of out of the finale to the Flash. Which
how many episodes left?
4.
4 episodes. 4 weeks. How long is that? A month? What comes out in a month? The Flash movie comes out in a month. I just would not be. I'm just not putting them past to put Ezra Miller or to put Grant Gustin in that movie. I'm just not putting it past them to do that.
Yeah,
and it would make it just. How euphoric would it be to see Grant Gustin and Ezra Miller?
Awesome.
Yeah,
it'd be awesome. It'd give me the same feeling that,
No Way Home.
That and how Ezra's appearance in Crisis on Infinite Earths popped me. I was like, whoa! Yeah. That was cool. So yeah, until it doesn't happen, I'm gonna think it's gonna happen. So we'll see. We got a Gran Turismo trailer. Look pretty good.
Look kind of good.
Yeah, Neil Blomkamp making a big return to the screen, and I said this before about these PlayStation Studios things. They're taking it seriously.
Yep.
They're definitely taking it seriously. They're getting some directors, they're getting some actors, and they're like, we're gonna make movies. So,
and they said also we're gonna sell some systems because the premise of this movie, and apparently this is based on a true story. Like this, I guess actually happened. So I guess some guy was like really good at like at Gran Turismo, the game, and they were like, you can't race in real life. And he's like, well, watch me. And then he did it. I don't know who it is. I guess I'm going to have to look more into it, but that's kind of insane that's a thing. But yeah, I mean, this movie it looks pretty good. Top Gun in the modern age Top Gun Maverick is really going to revolutionize the way they shoot vehicle action. I think it's now what John Wick 1 did to hand-to-hand action in the East in like the modern age is what Top Gun Maverick is going to do to vehicle action from so on and so forth until something usurps that, which I don't think will happen. But just this understanding of how to move a camera, how to make the camera feel alive, how to make how to flow the camera through these vehicles to really add that added pressure. This movie looks like it's going to do some of that too. Some of the camera work is pretty interesting, pretty innovative, and this movie looks fun. It looks pretty tense, and it looks high octane is probably what you want for a Gran Turismo movie. I think the best thing that this movie, or the biggest thing this movie needs to do, is be immersive. I think like get us in the car. And I mean, character wise, I mean, you got David Harbour, you got Orlando Bloom, our favorite Legolas is in this. So this is gearing up to be maybe like a diamond in the rough, pretty good movie that people weren't anticipating being this year. So
yeah, it's a tried and true kind of just car racing movie,
car sport, like Rudy-esque underdog movie. Like that's pretty cool.
As long as it hits the beats that like Gran Turismo hits, where like the driving's cool and it looks nice. Like that's what Gran Turismo is. Yep. like it feels good, it looks good. Like so if that movie does that, then I think it can succeed for sure.
Right.
So we got some Gladiator news, more casting. So this cast is rounding out.
We're just gonna put it out there now. Anytime there's Gladiator casting, we're putting it in.
Like Oppenheimer.
Gladiator's been added to the whiteboard.
Yeah, Pedro Pascal is in finalizing an agreement to appear in this movie. Joseph Quinn as well.
He's gonna be the king in this movie.
Yeah. Cool. I'm really looking forward to this movie.
Yeah.
A lot.
Yep. Just this cast is just getting pretty. Like once Denzel joined, I was like, "What are we about to get?" And then they said Pedro Pascal's on top of that.
Paul Mescal.
I mean Barry Keoghan and Paul Mescal is going to be the direct rivals. But I mean, you add Denzel, you add Pedro Pascal to that.
It's kind of nuts.
It is kind of nuts the caliber of actor. And I mean, I shouldn't even say that because it is Ridley Scott that's doing this movie. And one thing I said to somebody was, they were questioning the need for sequels, and I said the first thing I will always go to a sequel is if the original director is doing the sequel. I will always be on board or always be intrigued if the original person is doing the sequel, because at least that's their story that's continuing. When it's somebody else, that's when you could I understand the apprehensiveness, but when it's the person that did the original thing, I'm gonna be in until something otherwise tells me not to be.
Yeah, it's great. And Denzel, when they announced that Denzel was going to like,
oh. What? Yeah, like, okay.
And then, like you said, adding Pedro Pascal to this is just like, he's just showing off now.
Yeah, yep.
Speaking of Paul Mescal, there is more Fantastic Four rumors swirling, in addition to the Adam Driver news from last week. So it certainly appears that it could be Margot Robbie and Paul Mescal being Sue and Johnny Storm. Paul Mescal obviously playing Sue Storm, Margot Robbie playing Johnny Storm.
Wait.
And I'll be first to admit when I'm wrong on these things. I thought for sure that they were going to build this Fantastic Four cast as kind of like these budding kind of rising stars maybe or relative unknowns, but they're just like, hey, let's just get some really amazing actors and build our Fantastic Four based off that.
Let's get all of them to be Oscar nominees. Like let's just who should play Ben Grimm if we're just going to do everybody's either been nominated or won an Oscar.
Michael Chiklis.
Chiklis. You're Michael Chiklis from Gotham.
You're Michael Chiklis from The Shield.
Come on, man. That's a deep cut. If this is true, and I'm still gonna take all these casting rumors with a grain of salt, because the big thing that's came out is they've offered them the role. It's not like the rumors that circulate, like, oh, he potentially could play this role. Like, all of these are just rumors at this point. So I don't know what can or cannot be true. But all I'm saying is that if it is, Margot Robbie is like, it's the one thing where like, you think about it, you're like, that's actually the perfect Sue Storm, but you don't think about it because it's Margot Robbie. Like, you don't think she'll probably say yes to a Marvel movie, but at the same time, I was like, wait a minute, isn't she Harley Quinn in the DCEU? Like, maybe she would say yes to this. And that performance is probably going to be done by this point, too, so might as well be the first family. I'm feeling these Marvel movies like, it's the John Wick. I'm thinking I'm back. Like, we talked about it, like, if they can survive until they get to like the meat and potatoes, the mutants in the Fantastic Four, like, they might be in for like a real, like, not a reset, but like even a soft reboot, but like hey, like, this is new. Like, this is gonna be your new Iron Man, Captain America. Like, it's gonna be the X-Men and the Fantastic Four. Like, we're going to really run with those. Just
when you look at the ages of these actors, so Adam Driver's 39, Margot Robbie's 32, Paul Mescal's 27. That's, if they wanted to
have them for a little bit,
they could.
Yep.
They could absolutely do that.
Yep.
I think sometimes when we do these fan castings or speculative castings, we get too cute with it instead of just like these obvious choices. Like, of course, if you could get Adam Driver, you get him. Of course, if you can get Margot Robbie, you get her. You know what I mean? Like, of course. So, like, it makes sense. And I guess we'll see. It's definitely, like I said, I didn't expect them to go this direction with just getting studs for each of the four positions. But, in hindsight, it does sort of make sense.
Right.
Like, if they're going to build the fantastic... Maybe they reserve the X-Men for that relative unknown. Like, we're going to cast a bunch of relative unknowns and...
Or younger actors and let them grow.
Raise them up as the X-Men. But the Fantastic Four is going to be like, boom! Here they are.
I just think the Fantastic Four needs to hit. Like, whatever this movie is, it needs to be a 100%... like, win, like, this team, this casting, the feel. Like, I hope the feel is a lot akin to the first Guardians of the Galaxy movie, which I did watch yesterday, and, like, again, it's the feel. Like, you get that feel for something, like, that magic feel, and, like, that's what I feel like the Fantastic Four need to do, and, like, you have so much, like, it feels infinite, the amount of things they can pull for the Fantastic Four. So I hope, like, even like first villain, like, I hope they like fight like Mole Man for the first villain. Like, I feel like that would be a great tee up for them to, like, get their feet wet essentially, and then you go from there.
Yeah, I agree. I just think it's super interesting. So Netflix coming out with a couple of haymakers this week. We got a trailer for The Witcher Season 3, Henry Cavill's final season. They're doing the Stranger Things thing. So June 29th will be part 1 of Season 3, and then mid-July will be part 2 of Season 3. Just feels like they want to space out the Henry Cavill thing as long as possible before they turn the reins over to Liam Hemsworth.
Are they still going to turn over the reins is the real question.
I don't know. I mean, apparently, from everything I've seen, that he had a pretty bad falling out with the writing staff. So... But
that writing staff is on strike right now.
Exactly. Maybe
I'm thinking I'm back.
Maybe this will be the one good thing to the writing strike is they can get Henry Cavill back as the Witcher.
There's no good things about the writing strike. He's joking. There's nothing good about it.
So it looks super cool.
This never happened when Roland Emmerich was making movies. That break Roland Emmerich took is when that big writer strike like a couple of years ago happened.
Yeah, I really loved the second season of The Witcher. I thought it was really good. I thought it fixed all kind of like the minor issues I had with the first season, and hopefully season 3 builds upon that. Even though going in knowing this is Henry Cavill's last turn as Geralt of Rivia, I still hope it's really good, and I like both. I think Freya Allen, who plays Ciri, is poised for a little something in the future. So definitely looking forward to that. And then, kind of surprise, we talked about this with Stranger Things, but Netflix one of Netflix's aces in the holes. It's coming back, Black Mirror, for a 6th season. Took a hiatus, because hilariously the creator of Black Mirror was like, you know what, I think the real world sucks a little too much right now. I don't want to make another season of Black Mirror, but we're back. We're doing the modern day Twilight Zone. That's the best way to explain Black Mirror. Get some A-list actors, put them in some crazy scenarios, and let the writing do the rest. And that trailer was really great. I'm looking forward to all the twists and turns. If you've never seen Black Mirror, just one of the coolest things about it is you can literally scroll all the seasons and just read the premise of the episode and be like, that one sounds interesting.
It's season 6.
I know.
Like, it feels like this is like season 3, not season 6. Favorite Black Mirror episode?
I like... Man, there's so many good ones. I can't remember the titles of all of them, but there was the one where the woman is put through, like, she gets put in this, like, horrible town, and then she has to, like, survive, and then, like, the big twist at the end is she's a criminal, and they're doing this to punish her because she's a criminal. That's one of the best Black Mirror episodes, because that's what gets you about Black Mirror is the hook. Like, that twist, and you're like, whoa! Didn't see that coming. I like that one. I like the one with the couple where you can see, like, they're recording everything you're doing in your eyes.
Oh, I think that might be I think that is the best episode of Black Mirror. The one with, why can't I remember his name, that just hilariously played Dr. Doom and Fant Four Stick. Yeah. That's pretty good. Am I a traditionalist? Okay, so best episode, what's the creepiest episode?
The creepiest episode? Black Museum is pretty creepy. Also, like, creepy, unsettling, like the episode where the guy's a soldier and he's killing a bunch of monsters, and then the big twist is that he's actually killing people.
Yeah, yep.
That one just made me go, woof.
That's good. Is it, like, cliche if I say the USS Callister? Because, like, that was, like, the defining episode of the whole thing. So, or of, like, the later seasons of Black Mirror. So, that's a pretty good one. You a Bandersnatch fan? You watched the movie?
I did.
The immersive movie where I had to pick up my remote? Just pissing me off. Or you could let the movie play if you want to. Couldn't you make that, like, an infinite amount of time if you wanted to, if you just kept going back? Or, like, just you can make the whole thing, like, really long. But
yeah.
I like I said, I think the best episode of this thing is the entire history of you.
Yep.
I guess it's because it's the first episode, that whole thing from the first episode, because it's like, that's your first introduction to this, and you're like, ugh, this is a tough watch, but I'm intrigued.
Also, the Domhnall Gleeson, Haley Atwell episode with the AI husband, the android husband, that one is amazing.
Yeah. Yep.
Man, I can't wait. We get that in June. We get The Witcher in June. We get a bunch of movies in June. June's going to be great.
June, July. It's on.
And then right before we start talking about Guardians and other things, Damon Lindelof's Star Wars movie is dead.
Yeah.
Because they were like, not interested.
Right.
It's a casualty, I guess, of all the stuff that they announced at the Star Wars Celebration. So, I don't know. There's only so much room in this galaxy for a bunch of things, and we're getting 3 films already. Right. So, I guess, I don't know.
Yeah, it like, from, like, a creative lens, it stinks, like, when somebody doesn't get to make the thing that they wanted to make, like, it'd be fun if, like, you get to, especially in the Star Wars universe, that'd be very nice, but, it's budgetary. It's like, it's business at the end of the day. That's what people talk about a lot. It's business. Like, so things get cut, things get made. So, you feel for him because you want him to make the thing that he probably fell in love with when he was a kid, like Star Wars. But at the end of the day, you got to make decisions that will make you money and that will make people, go to the theater and watch. So maybe one day, you never know. Maybe Star Wars pops back. And I say that as if Star Wars had, like, a fall off. Like, Star Wars, Star Wars is still Star Wars at the end of the day, which we will talk about at the very end of this episode.
Sure will. And then I guess we're just gonna talk Guardians. So we're almost an hour in. So we'll I guess we'll just kind of open this up, more of a general discussion, kind of how we did with Ant-Man Quantumania, because we kind of had a similar discussion with Ant-Man coming up, but I really, really think it's an important discussion to have with Guardians, especially with the pending writer's strike also coming down the pipeline. Like, this really feels like Marvel's last stand, kind of.
Yeah, because you don't know how far these movies are going to get pushed back. This Jonathan Majors thing really is like, this could be a make or break for your whole universe. Like, it's not as simple as just like it could be simple, like you recast them, but like, how can you live with the tainted name? Like, can you survive that? So
it's the first time they've really had something like this happen.
And it's across everything. Like, their backs are like, it really feels like it's against the wall. Like,
ironically enough, 15 years to the day.
15 years to the day.
We're having this conversation, like, and it's the first time in probably ever where I've kind of accepted that conversation, where like people have had this conversation before, like Marvel's in the mud, Marvel's dead, this, that, and the other thing, and it's never been realistic. And I don't even think it's particularly realistic to say Marvel's dead, but they're definitely on the ropes as far as, can they reach that high again? Can they reach that Infinity War Endgame high again? And they've shown glimpses with Spider-Man No Way Home, Black Panther Wakanda Forever, Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings, I think enters that conversation for sure. So it's still there, but with Thor: Love and Thunder, with Ant-Man Quantumania, and just these other movies coming out outside of fandom that are attracting a lot of attention. Your Avatars, your Top Guns, your Dunes when Dune inevitably comes out, Transformers, Indiana Jones, Oppenheimer.
And then you go even farther and you look at the actual creators of stuff. Like, Jordan Peele releases a movie, people are gonna go see it no matter what. Christopher Nolan releases a movie, people are gonna go see it no matter what. And then streaming services are really deading a lot of these movie releases, but the movie releases, people are still going to these Marvel releases, but it's not as like you release something, it's going to get killed. Like, it doesn't feel that way that it did like a couple of years ago. So it is scary hours for Marvel. So
however, and fortunately maybe for them, they have maybe arguably their best stable director, and one of their best franchises to come in and save the day, I guess, with Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3. We talked about it. If this movie lands, it's probably the best trilogy in the MCU.
Yep, I would.
Eclipsing Captain America.
Yep, I would agree, wholeheartedly agree, and I think it's because, so essentially this is how you got to do it. You have to put Civil War against Guardians 1, and as much as I think Civil War is probably one of the coolest superhero movies, I just think Guardians 1 is a better film. And then you got to put you probably got to put Guardians 3 against, or you got to put Guardians 2 against Captain America 1, just based off the reviews. Obviously, we haven't seen the movie yet, but just because at this point, even with these early reviews, it feels like Guardians 2 is the weakest of the trilogy, at which Captain America 1 is the weakest of the trilogy, so you got to put them against each other. And for all intents and purposes, based off these early reviews, it's looking like Guardians 3 is better than Cap 1, so this very much might be like the most seamless trilogy. It might be the best for your, these just oblong and like outlandish characters that just like, and that's probably one of the best things I've said about, something on this is like, the Guardians are the MCU's first family. Like, they are the ones that people fall in love with. Man, I opened up that first scene in Guardians and then like,
it's so good.
Man, just like his musical choices and like,
it's one of the best introductions and establishing shots.
It just feels like a move, like it feels like a film. Like, it feels like there's parts that are like, wow, this is like, I don't know if it's because I've been longing for it, especially after like Thor: Love and Thunder or Ant-Man 3, like, and hearing like the old Marvel fanfare, I was like, oh man, like this is, remember this? Like, remember how this used to feel? So yeah, man, I'm so much looking forward to this movie. So, I mean, I guess the best way we can go about this is maybe we can either do this category based. We can do our categories for the Guardians up until this point, or we can maybe summarize the Guardians in the MCU, or a little bit of both.
Yeah, a little bit of both. I think
as Star-Lord said at the end of one, he said,
both.
little bit of both.
But like going back to Guardians 1 and the opening of Guardians 1, you have those movies where you remember distinctly how you felt.
Yeah. Yep.
When the thing started in the theater, and I can remember vividly seeing that first Guardians movie and just in the opening 5 minutes being like, oh.
I can tell you everything, I can tell you everything. I was a sophomore in high school when this movie came out. I remember the exact people I saw this movie with. I remember when the third act started, I was, enthralled, but, I don't know what it did, what that movie did to me. On your, short, obviously we're creators, you're a writer, I want to be a filmmaker. It's funny, you look at the movies and, I feel like it would be borderline blasphemous for, you to go into, a studio and be like, what are the movies that made you? And, you say in a Marvel movie, they're like, get this guy out of here. But, I truthfully would probably put Guardians 1 on that list for me specifically. I don't know, it is my favorite MCU movie. Mm-hmm. I genuinely think that might be the best MCU movie. And it's just because it feels like this creative team went in there and said, what if we flesh out these just crazy characters? And what if it's just this understanding of how powerful character can be? Yeah, it's crazy. I remember distinctly walking out of the theater going, that was one of the best movies I've ever seen. I love that movie so much. I have so much love for that movie. And I immediately went back and saw it again. Mm-hmm. That first Guardians movie is incredibly special. And that's kind of the foundation of just this out of nowhere thing that just took that just caught fire. Everybody was talking about that movie after it came out, and that movie came off the coattails of, if I'm not mistaken, Captain America Winter Soldier. So that's your back-to-back was because I remember the year started off with Thor 2, and I vividly remember the end of 2013 was Thor 2, and people were like, uh-oh, that wasn't great. And then Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. was in its infancy, but still rising up to the occasion. And then Captain America Winter Soldier comes out, and you're like, ooh, this Earth-based stuff is this is prime Captain America, post First Avengers, the hand-to-hand is great. And then Guardians comes out, and you're like, you get that feel, and you're like, ooh, it's I don't know what I was in my room yesterday, I just threw it on, and I was like, as soon as you hear I'm not in love, I'm like, oh my god, this is everything. This is everything I want in a comic book movie. It's just, it hits all the beats. Yeah. So it's the best way to explain it. It's incredibly special. The cast is brilliant. Mm-hmm. It looks great too. The movie visually looks really strong. Especially that was their first big swing of not being on Earth, space. Besides Asgard, and Asgard was a central place. You were planet hopping a little bit in that movie too. So you get your introduction to the Kree, you get your introduction to the Nova Corps. It does so. I think people don't even realize Thanos. Yeah, it does. Or Josh Brolin specific Thanos. It does so much world building for the MCU Cosmic too. And it's just, but it also again, it just doesn't portray any character. Every character seems flushed out. Every character has clear motivation. Every character, you resonate with at least one of the characters. It's just, it's incredible. And, you look farther, and what game surprised us the most from last year, and that's that Guardians of the Galaxy game. That Guardians of the Galaxy game is it's cut from an amalgamation of the comics in the movie. You get that same feeling. Obviously the Star-Lord in the game is much more comic accurate than the Star-Lord in the movie, but it's just, you hit all those beats, but you don't get there without James Gunn's vision that he brought to us in 2014. And you know why also these movies work, the first two, and then by all intents and purposes the third one, for whatever reason James Gunn has, maybe it's just a don't care attitude or this rogue attitude that he has. He can't be bothered with the MCU stuff. Yeah, yep. He's just making a fun those Guardians movies are not so disconnected, but they're relatively disconnected from the rest of the MCU. Yeah, there's no big world implication. The biggest world implication was the fact that Gamora was Thanos' daughter, and the fact that they had to play into Infinity War. But it's the same. What was one of the other big movies from the MCU that popped off that was a cultural phenomenon? It was Black Panther. And you know how I can tell? Because what were the two big things that were in Infinity War? It was the Guardians of the Galaxy being essentially 40% of the plot, and then or 30 to 40% of the plot, and it was Black Panther was Wakanda being the set for your final battle. So
yeah, it's really awesome. And that first movie does so many good things. So many good things. We talked about the first movie before, so I don't want to relitigate it too much, because we did that with the Guardians game too. We did Guardians 1 and the game together, so you can go back and listen to that. I don't know when that episode was, mid-30s probably. We're almost at episode 100.
Yes, that's gonna be an extravaganza.
It's somewhere in the
we're getting Martin Scorsese to come on for that episode. It's gonna be crazy.
Yeah, it's something.
No, we gotta get Stephen Lang for that episode. No, see, now we have to ask the question of maybe we need to do a category for our own podcast on that episode. It's gonna be like an amalgamation of everything.
That'd be pretty good. Yeah, so we definitely we talked about Guardians 1 a bunch. So more so Guardians 2 brought a lot of it. Did what sequels do. It took what you liked and did more. And
that was people's probably biggest complaint about the second one, is that it took because if you look at the MCU, that's when the comedy really started popping off, was the Guardians movies. And, to some people's behest, that's what a lot of people didn't like, was how funny those movies were, how much it focused on comedy. So by the time, it got to be a little serious, like this whole trope that Marvel can't get nowhere without a joke kind of created, incepted out of that. So, like you said, for Guardians 2, it's like, it's all the stuff that you like gets doubled down. But I mean, you talk about openings to a movie. Guardians 2 probably has one of the most memorable openings to an MCU movie as well. And I mean, it's your song choices again, using Mr. Blue Sky, using the Baby Groot or the Baby Yoda effect or the Grogu effect for Baby Groot. It's great. It hits. I think 2 has a little bit more of an issue of, it's the second act in 2, which I think really struggles, because I don't think the second act wants to pick up with like the Ravagers, and then I don't think it knows which direction it wants to run in, because the second one visually also looks really, really great. Like, I love it. Like, again, it's like that Jack Kirby inspired thinking of, world building and set building and visual effects. But how do you like Ego as a villain of a movie?
He's great.
I think he's pretty dang. I think he's probably one of the better MCU villains.
And it's always the question of like, is the villain great because the villain's written well, or is it because it's well delivered,
or is it because it's Kurt Russell?
That's what I'm saying.
Right.
Like if any other actor was that character, would it work so well?
Right.
I don't know. But the fun part is we don't have to find out.
Nope.
Because it was Kurt Russell, and he was charismatic. He was charming. He was so good that like you feel like Peter. You're like, wow. This guy's great.
Oh, this guy's awesome. And when I put that tumor in your mother's head,
again, it's one of those moments like that I'll never forget, being in a movie theater. The audience, when I went to see Guardians 2, when he said that, the audible gasp that came over the theater, they were like nobody could believe it. They were stunned. And that goes back to how that first, the true opening of Guardians 2 is him and Peter's mother singing Brandy, You're a Fine Girl, driving, and you're like, oh, what a cute relationship. Like, this is great. And then you find out, dun dun dun, that Ego killed Peter's mom. He's killed just countless individuals in his quest to find an heir, basically.
Right. And I mean, retroactively speaking, you want to talk Eternals for a little bit. That is an interesting perspective, because you look at Kingo. I mean, obviously Icarus, but I want to pull it to like Kingo's perspective, because like Kingo's not there, but he still understands like a primal way of thinking of it. Like, the universe still needs to go. Like, Earth thinks it's the central planet. Like, there's planets for days out there. So if Earth needs to die to make sure there's like another 100 planets, like, it is what it is. Like, this needs to happen. So I think Ego himself is an interesting character. I probably do wish they would have leaned in a little bit more to the lore aspect. I think, that's something, again, I thought too. I think the lore of 2 as it's fun, but I think you gotta run with it a little bit more, in my opinion, because I don't think you need to run, and I don't think they ran with the lore as much as 1, and you didn't need to. Like, that's not what this movie. I think if you're gonna take the swings you do in 2, like, your lore's gotta be tight. And I think the Guardians game, the definition of lore is, like, ingrained into that Guardians in that Guardians game.
Yeah, I agree. And man, that second movie hit some really great emotional beats.
Yep, exactly. Yondu's death is probably one of the most potent deaths in the entire MCU. And just down to how characters feel about each other. It's all great work. It's just and I will say one thing, I rewatched Guardians 2, I can't remember, I think it was the end of last year. That movie rose a little bit on my ranking after the I enjoyed it. Was a little bit more seamless than one that I remembered it being. And it could have been sequel fever where the sequel doesn't live up to the hype when you first see it and you're like, oh, this sucks that it didn't live. It's no, the movie's probably still pretty good. It's just that first one's special, so it's tough. It's tough to live up to that.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think a lot of sequels kind of suffer for that sometimes when the first one is so great. But, and like I said, the best thing about the second movie is that it doesn't have anything to do with anything as far as the greater MCU. And
this was in a time in early 2017 where it was just everything has to do with the Infinity Saga. This is we're on the road. We already know that next year we're going to get Infinity War. We got to get ready for this. But Guardians 2 is nope, absolutely not.
We're doing a Guardians adventure. Right. Another classic Guardians adventure. Yep. What do you think about Drax?
So, are you asking comic me or are you asking me?
Just in general.
Comic fan me is just a bit disappointed. I do really like Dave Bautista as Drax, and I think he's he's having fun, and there's these little specks of heartfelt that gets ingrained into it. It's just a power thing for me. It's just reading Annihilation and knowing just how absolutely of a unit that Drax is, and then seeing him possibly just be as strong as Captain America bugs me a little bit, but it's nothing that can't be fixed or anything or give him an upgrade or anything. So I think he's solid. I just think Dave Bautista's the best part of Drax.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think I agree. I think I always wanted a little bit more.
Yeah,
from that character as far as his. Because you're right, he does have those, it's right there.
Yeah.
It's right there. They touch it. In Guardians 2, they touch it. When Mantis, touches him and feels that just overwhelming sense of emotion and anguish. I'm there it is. It's just explore that a little bit more.
Yeah, and Guardians 1 is way more raw than I thought that movie was upon the rewatch. That movie's pretty raw. There's moments where there's no joke or Drax is just he's just reminiscing or thinking about. I'm this is kind of sad.
When Rocket gets drunk and he talks about being a monster, which kind of is gonna be the whole conceit of Guardians 3 is Rocket's origin story.
Right. And sequels are, looking at a Hollywood perspective of a sequel, the Hollywood, exec slap the table green light person is bigger, more, we got more money, do more, go crazy. They're probably not about subtleties and little emotions. They don't care about that as much, but I think James Gunn fights that as much as he can in this movie. So I will give Guardians 2 a little bit more benefit of the doubt and a little bit more credit. I do think this movie is still pretty dang cool.
I think it's still really, really great. Who else have been talking about? Gamora?
I think Zoe Saldana is probably one of the more underrated actresses of our age. She's one of the franchise queens. Star Trek. So the only thing she's missing really is Star Wars. She just got to get in a Star Wars project and that's it. But yeah, she's great. And I think the best she'd been is probably Infinity War was the best she'd been. And it's by a little bit, but again, just the subtle, I love her line delivery in Guardians 1, especially her line delivery is really strong. It's it's really it's infectious the way she delivers a line because you feel the weight of she's the MCU in the room when she's talking my father Thanos will have not have this or we need to destroy him by this. I love how much she's just not having it with Peter, but again she just can't help but feel a little something for him. I think I really like her performance. I think she's great the whole way through and she's consistent the whole way through.
Agreed. And I'm really looking forward to this next take.
Yeah, this is going to be the most different Gamora we've ever seen, so...
This feels like it's going to be the most, comic book accurate Gamora, because she's going to be, straight assassin mode,
right?
Basically, like until she's not. Basically,
right. Yep.
Man, Groot.
I'm Groot.
It's great.
There it is.
It's they nailed it.
Yeah.
This was like you said, it was Baby Yoda before Baby Yoda.
Mm-hmm.
Like it was even like adult Groot. Like I don't know what it is, man. Like you felt it.
Mm-hmm.
But he did the whole heroic sacrifice thing. Like you felt it, and you're like, this movie can't possibly make me care about this character.
Watch this though, and another watch this though is Bradley Cooper as Rocket.
I
just always forget it's Bradley Cooper until I think about it's Bradley Cooper. I'm like, wait a minute, you're Bradley Cooper from You're Bradley Cooper from The Place Beyond the Pines. It's crazy.
It's crazy.
You're Bradley Cooper from Burnt.
You're Bradley Cooper from Limitless.
Ooh. You're Bradley Cooper from The Hangover.
Yes. You're Bradley Cooper from that cameo he made at Dungeons and Dragons.
And I had to look it up after you told me, and then I looked it up and I was like, "What the?" I was Chris Evans in Free Guy. What the?
Yeah.
Crap. You're Bradley Cooper from American Hustle.
Ooh, you're Bradley Cooper from Limitless, the TV series.
Come on, man. You're killing me, man. Dang it. This guy's got me backed into a corner. This is tough.
He's really good as Rocket.
He's Rocket Raccoon from New Jersey.
It's inexplicable, but I don't care. He plays, there's a lot of depth to that character that I'm glad that is obviously going to get explored in Guardians 3, but like the depth is always there, whether or not you noticed it or not. But like he always had like those moments where you're like, oh, he's
a father, essentially. He's like an annoying older brother almost, and like a father. Essentially in the second one he's a dad.
He's great with Thor.
Yeah, yep.
Infinity War.
These little dumb lines they throw, like it's like the line where he's just like, all right, time to be the captain. Like he understands there's like a bigger purpose going on at all moments too, which I really appreciate. Like things are beyond him, and I think that's something they might dive into. Like, hey, like I appreciate you for like you having all this trauma from your life, but you like putting people above you, like, because when do we pick up with him? Who is he with? He's with Groot, who he's putting above himself at that point. He's always putting somebody else first, and I think that's one of his one of his defining, traits as a character. One
of the best Rocket moments is when Thor's like having a panic attack in Asgard, and he says to Thor like, you think you're the only one that's like lost people? Like I lost everybody. I lost my family. Like Quill's gone, Groot, Drax,
the chick with the antenna.
They're all gone. And then he goes, I get that you miss your mom, but she's gone. She's really gone. She's really gone. And then what we're doing this for is for the people that are only kind of gone, and you can help them. Mm-hmm. Like that's a really great moment for Rocket. And it kind of doesn't pay off because Thor doesn't really get the job done until like right at the end.
Yeah, but I mean that was also what made Chris Hemsworth's arc, and what I still will call to the end of the day by far his best performance as Thor is when the Russos were helming Thor. Yep. So he was at his best for those two movies. So he needed that, but that wasn't the time yet. It wasn't time.
So, I think building Guardians 3 around Rocket is really smart. Yeah. Because I think that character is really compelling.
And last but not least...
Wait.
Oh, crap. The chick with the antenna.
Yeah. You just name dropped it.
Yeah. So, I'm going to say two words. Holiday special. And
yes. Yeah, we talked about that with the Guardians Holiday special. It was the Palm Clementif extravaganza. Mm-hmm. She was tremendous. Mm-hmm. Delivered, obviously, the funny moments, but also that speech at the end, the talk she has with Peter, man, was really great. Yeah, and I mean, let's just transition that right into the man himself, Chris Pratt. Love him or hate him, real life Chris Pratt. I mean, it's just undeniable. 2014 when he was Star-Lord was like. He was him. Like, you want to talk about he was him years? Was Chris Pratt in 2014 and 2015. He morphed into Harrison Ford. Yeah, he was Harrison Ford for a little bit. He was off of remember the talks that they wanted him to play Indiana, like a young version of Indiana Jones? Guardians. And did Jurassic World. Like, wait a minute, is he turning into Harrison Ford right before our eyes? He could not miss for anything, so...
Man, it was...
Now he's Mario?
Now he's Mario. He's back. He's back. You can't keep him down.
No, you can't. Man, it's a really understated performance.
Yeah, that first
Star-Lord.
That first movie specifically is just... He is just amazing in that first movie. And, like, you can hate me all you want for thinking that, because it's Chris Pratt, I guess, but in my opinion, it's undeniable how good he is in that first movie. It's the little thing. It's the little things, Jimmy, as Denzel said in that one movie he was in with Jared Leto and Rami Malek. It's the little things, Jimmy. But, like,
I like that movie.
Yeah, it is the little things for him in the first one. Like, you know, any interaction or any time he thinks about his mom, like, man, one of my favorite scenes, and I guess in movies, I don't know if it's the shot itself, I don't know if it's because it's Elvin Bishop's fooled around and fell in love was playing, but, like, the scene where he's, like, you know, he's falling in love with Gamora, and it's not like he's like this cool space pirate essentially that's running around the cosmos, a wannabe hero. Like, he's truthfully falling in love with this woman, and, like, that whole scene alone, like, just the small stuff in there, it's like I think he's great, and, like, he is cut from, like, that Harrison mold in that movie, like, you know, who you calling scruffy looking? Like, yeah, like, that was Star-Lord for a little bit, so.
Yeah, he's Harrison Ford without, like, the
gruff, rugged. It's like, which he replaces with, like, a little bit more comedic.
It's like pretend rough, rugged.
Right. Exactly. Well, that's the whole conceit of Star-Lord is who are you?
I'm Star-Lord, man.
I'm Star-Lord, man. Legendary outlaw,
dude. Don't call us plucky.
We don't know what it means. Speaking of that, next time we see the Guardians after Volume 2 is in Avengers Infinity War. Man, when they walk off that ship, and I'm like, or when they're in space, and I'm like, and once the music starts playing, once Rubber Band Man starts playing, I'm like, the whole theater, I think we got clapping from that in the theater when that happened, like, you know, like, hey, like, they're there. Like, it's like the Guardians are here to say, like, they're here to be a part of this movie. It was at that point, it was a huge deal because that was, like, a huge crossover idea, like, getting the Guardians and the Avengers in, like, the same room with each other. They were great with, you know, and you gotta be strategic of who you put them with. Like, you put them with, like, you know, you put them with Robert Downey Jr. and Tom Holland and Benedict Cumberbatch. Like, that's good. Like, put them with Iron Man and Spider-Man and Doctor Strange. So, Infinity War.
It's so good.
Yeah. And
that scene is so good.
Yeah, but Infinity War did it's the Gamora show essentially. But also Peter gets a lot of stuff to do, and essentially, but more importantly, he became the most hated person in the entire MCU for a year. But how human of him to do that?
Absolutely.
How human. It's the Joel last of, like, yeah, like, did you kill my girlfriend? Yup. Okay, well, you're gonna die now. Like,
and, like, you gotta think of Peter's journey.
Yep.
You know?
Yep.
What was his first instinct when Ego told him about his mom? He shot him.
Shoot first. Shoot first, ask questions later.
Like, that's who Peter has always been. Like, he goes after Ronan the first time originally.
Yep.
Like, he's emotional. He's driven by his emotions. Like, it makes sense.
Yep.
Like, it's not that it didn't make sense. It makes you angry that he did that thing.
Because you wouldn't do it. Shut up. You would 100% do that. Man, people gotta stop fooling themselves. Like, they're this, like, noble, stoic person. No. You're gonna shoot the guy in the face or punch the guy in the face that just said they killed your girlfriend. 100%.
Killed your girlfriend, his daughter.
Yep.
He's murdered, I don't know, millions of people up to this point.
Yep.
Like, he blew up Xandar.
Yep.
Like, another group of people that Quill had an attachment to.
Right, yep.
Like, Thanos decimated Xandar.
Yep.
Like, yeah, he's a little ticked off.
Right.
Like, I get it. And, man, it's, like, we already talked about...
I really like that scene in Infinity War. He's like, no, you didn't. Like, it's like, no, you didn't. Like, you wouldn't do that. He's like, Nebula, and we didn't even talk about Nebula yet. I love how Nebula, she knows. Like, she knows immediately what he did, and, like...
Does she know?
Yeah.
She does.
She does know, yeah. I really do enjoy, like, probably one of my favorite evolutions in the Guardians is Nebula. Like, I feel like she's
Karen Gillan, just unrecognizable, by the way.
Unrecognizable, and I think she might have like in terms of like the acting, she probably puts up some of the better acting in the Guardians movies too, especially two in Infinity War / Endgame. Like it's like because she knows who Thanos is and like she understands that he is an issue, like he's a problem and like somebody not to be trifled with. So
my father's many things. A liar is not one of them.
Perhaps I mistreated you or I judged you poorly.
No, when she's what is she? I forget what she says to him, but he's like, "Would have been a waste of parts."
I said, "Uh-oh, that's cold, man."
Man, he really hates her.
Yeah, he does. He does. He loves Gamora though. That's how he got the Soul Stone. Man, tears. Really? They are not for him. I said, "Uh-oh, you're about to get yeeted off this cliff, aren't you?"
And then him just like dragging her there, and then just yoink.
Infinity War goes crazy. That movie goes nuts.
You're the Red Skull from the Nazis.
You're the Red Skulls from Marvel Comics, aren't you? You're the Red Skull from the Cosmic Cube, aren't you?
That was so crazy.
Yeah, that was nuts.
Dun, dun. That was such a dun 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 moment.
That's the best NPC in Infinity War is Red Skull.
When he steps out of the shadows and you're like,
wait a minute. You're the Red Skull. Maybe you didn't die in the World War II. Dang it, the Nazis, that Nazi did win.
He got shot off into space.
Yeah.
He was like, I was a Nazi, but now
I'm a god.
Now I'm something else.
Yeah, I'm someone else. I'm something else. Dun, 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 dun,
and he did have a hood.
He did have. Oh no, he's the hood. Somebody call Quentin Lance immediately. The hood. There's been a hood sighting.
What's his deal?
Who?
The Red Skull. Where is he now?
Oh yeah, because the timeline's all messed up. Who cares?
What's he doing now?
Well, I mean, do you not just call Hugo Weaving and just be like, hey, you want to come back?
For what?
For whatever Captain America 5 is.
What? You're going to put him back on Earth?
Yeah, put him back on Earth. Well, I mean, all you got to do is just be like, all right, well...
He's going to be a Nazi again?
Yeah.
Ah, come on.
Yeah, have him be a neo-Nazi.
I liked him a little bit in Infinity War.
I would have played in 2016. Bring him back.
I just imagine like him just like sitting there on Vormir,
Mm-hmm.
like just
thinking about all the hits. He's playing the hits.
He's like, he doesn't even have the Soul Stone anymore.
Yeah.
You think he just found like a rock and just painted it orange and pretends it's the Soul Stone?
It's like Wilson from Castaway.
Also, how does he get it back?
What?
The Soul Stone.
Cap?
No, but I mean like just in general. Like, he had this rule, like, established.
Right.
Like, how many people have gotten the Soul Stone over time?
I don't think it... Well, how many people know where Vormir is? It's like... Isn't it like a handful?
He had a whole spiel.
I feel like just, like, nobody's attained the Soul Stone in, like, a million years.
He seemed pretty rehearsed.
Well, see, he got the breakdown. He got good job training when he got there.
Who told him?
Wait, who was... All right, who's the original keeper of the Soul... And, like... What's the funniest version of a person that was the keeper?
Was it like the Santa Claus situation? Like when he got...
Oh, no.
When he got shot off into space, he inadvertently crushed the previous keeper of the Soul
Yeah,
Stone?
and now thus he must be the keeper of the Soul Stone?
Bernard showed up. It was like, you killed the keeper of the Soul Stone.
Maybe we talk about the Santa Claus for Christmas this year.
Ooh.
We do the Santa Claus trilogy.
Bernard was like, you killed the keeper of the Soul Stone, now you must keep the Soul Stone. And the Red Skull's like, oh no.
Oh no.
But then he kind of liked it.
Yeah, he said, I want to go back to Earth and be a Nazi. He said, Red Skull, but it's but Red Skull's going to go back and it's going to be modern day. And Captain America's going to be like, what?
Bernard handed him the cloak and he's like, you get this? And he's like, ooh. And he gets to say this really cryptic stuff. Ooh. Is it racist? Nope. I'm out. Well, unfortunately, Red Skull, you can't be out. Yeah. You're stuck here.
Crap.
But I'll let you.
What happens if he sees like Sam Wilson, Captain America, go to do that?
I'll let you in on this little secret. You get to know the names of everybody's parents.
Nice.
Who comes to Vormir? Man, I love that scene. What's going on? I have so many questions.
We're talking about Guardians of the Galaxy. We're not talking about the Red Skull, though.
I know, but it's so interesting.
One day we'll do just a Red Skull, like a dedicated Red Skull in the MCU.
I don't know how that's going to play.
Somehow that's going to be our longest episode.
Somehow we'll get canceled for it.
The Red Skull episode?
Yeah, so...
We're not Nazis. He's the Nazi.
True.
He wasn't even really a Nazi, though.
Oh, don't start.
He just liked what Hitler gave him access to.
Oh no, we're going down a really dark, dangerous path here.
They said it in the first Captain America movie. He's just a fanatic. He didn't even care about the Nazi cause. He just wanted the science.
I used the stones to destroy the stones.
What? Still one of the craziest. I think those stones are like in Mississippi or something. Those stones are not gone. He just teleported them somewhere. Those stones are still somewhere. There's lies being told.
Thanos doesn't lie.
Oh shoot.
It's backed up by Nebula and Thanos himself.
Mm-hmm.
When he tells Gamora, I never taught you... he said, I never taught you to lie. That's why you're so bad at it. Oh.
Goat.
He's great.
Goat.
Yeah, we could talk... Man, Brolin, just presence. Presence, dog.
When that chair turns around in the first Guardians movie, I'm like, you're Josh Brolin from Sicario, from Sicario.
Great choice.
Yeah. It's the boom in his voice. Like, he just...
Especially in Guardians 1,
yeah.
They definitely do some stuff with him, right? With his
Yeah.
voice. They give him a little bit of...
Bathe the Starways in your blood. I said, this guy's spitting... He's been Thanos spitting bars since 2014.
The only matter I do not take seriously, boy. Is you. Uh-oh.
And then Ronan said, what if I destroyed Xandar? Because I'm mad.
What if I destroyed you, Thanos?
Try it. Go ahead and try it.
Pardon?
Remember when Ronan killed Thanos' right-hand guy?
He killed Thanos' version of the Mouth of Sauron?
Yeah, yep. That was kind of cold, I'm not gonna lie.
And Thanos didn't even care.
Yeah, Thanos like...
You know who did? You know who really didn't care? And who was like this behind that guy? Ebony Maw.
Yeah, Ebony Maw said, shoot. Looks like a job was opened up.
New job opening.
New job opening.
I will now be the Herald of Thanos. And I'm gonna be great at it.
Nebula just there. She just wants to be loved.
Greetings,
Man, it's
but you're
really
about
sad.
to die. The hands. Shut up.
Shut up, Ebony Maw. You might be he, but you'll never be him. They did Sanctuary 2 in this. Or Sanctuary 1. They did Sanctuary 1. Sanctuary 2 is the big ship. The ship that's like the size of like Wisconsin. That ship is a unit. But
Is that the one Captain Marvel destroyed?
sir, there's incoming. Incoming already came in. Underrated Age of Ultron is. Infinity War, the Avengers lose, everybody loses, everybody dies except for Rocket.
Yeah.
And Nebula.
Yeah.
And then Endgame opens up and like she just puts his hand on his back. I'm like, oh, now I'm sad.
They're playing paper football?
Yeah. In space. But you remember like that, like when Dear Mr. Fantasy played when you were in the theater when Endgame came out? I was like, is this about to happen? Like, is this real? Yeah. That didn't even feel like a real thing that we lived through. Like that Endgame, like...
I know.
The only thing that just brought like the entirety of Earth together for a solid couple months. That was the biggest deal when that movie came out. It was nuts.
Yep. And I tell the story all the time. I got the twist spoiled for me. The beginning twist.
When Thanos gets killed?
And it was so out of context that I didn't even think it made any sense.
It made all the sense, though. And that's destiny fulfilled.
This kid was like, I can't believe Thanos died twice. I was like, huh? And then I saw the movie and I was like, oh. Yeah, that still is the coldest thing Thanos probably ever said. He watched his own head get cut off.
And he was hyped.
He was like, I did it.
He said, let's go.
Ebony Maw was like,
he said, Thanos is just like, let's go.
Thanos was like, it's cool.
It's cool. It's cool. We cool. We're cool.
Rocket really kind of carries Endgame.
Yeah.
On the fact that he's the only one that's alive.
Right. Yep.
Other than Nebula.
Right.
Who has some nice moments.
Yeah.
Where you're like, oh, she's genuinely like a hero now.
Yeah, she's genuinely a hero, and also like she's had a sad life. And like that's apparent through Guardians 2 does the most work for Nebula up until that point of like, oh, like you're not a bad person, you're just, you're always going to be living in a shadow, which kind of sucks. It's a sucky thing to have to live through. But and Endgame happens. Nebula gets swapped out, but then swapped back. And I mean, the big thing for Nebula that she does in Endgame and like the character defining moment is when it's from the Rocket Man movie. You have to kill yourself to become the person you want to be. Like she kills the 2014 version of herself because that version's gone. Like that's not her anymore. She's a good person. So
yeah.
or a good being. So, yeah. Tony Stark dies. Oh, man.
Oh.
Nah, man. Guardians or Thor Love and Thunder.
Oh, boo.
What freaking song did they play in that movie? I forget, but yeah.
I talked about this.
Jane Fonda.
I talked about this when we talked about Thor Love and Thunder. The Guardians in that movie are like caricatures of the Guardians that we recognize. Like, they're sort of there, but they don't have any heart. Yeah. They're just jokey.
Yeah.
It's not great.
Yeah, and they're only in the movie for like 7 minutes, and that's it.
It's not great.
Not great. Not a great plan.
Don't love it. Don't love it at all.
But guess what? Guess what we do love?
Guardians Holiday Special.
Christmas. Yeah, the Guardians Holiday Special kind of slapped.
Yeah, we talked about it.
Yeah.
We both really liked it. Kevin Bacon being the emotional core of that special. Good stuff. Maybe some of the best acting we've gotten out of Chris Pratt in the MCU was in that Guardians special too. He was just particularly really great in that special. But yeah, just a funny like buddy comedy running around Earth. Get the introduction to Cosmo.
Yep. I like how they play Earth in that movie too. I don't know why I really enjoyed that, but like Earth also being like okay with everything, but also not, because the ship lands and people are like, oh god, like we're being invaded again. Oh no.
And then we got Kevin Bacon. Great performance. We find out that he's the person that, like, when everybody gets their defining character trait, like Captain America's was just like Erskine, like Tony is like what's his face? Jensen. Like, we find out that Star-Lord's was Kevin Bacon, but like also it's probably one of the most emotional conceits to having your character defining, like, you being the hero that you are. And I'm like, wow, that actually makes a lot of sense for Star-Lord, is why Kevin Bacon is like, he's like a hero. Like he saved this whole town, and like I don't care if you were a movie character or not, you still did that. Kevin Bacon from X-Men First Class.
Yes. Remember when he killed Darwin? Adapt to this. Man.
Got him. Can't adapt to these bars.
He was splitting a couple bars in those movies. Man, when Eric pushed that coin through his skull, I said X-Men First Class is elite. One day we're going to talk about that movie and why I genuinely think that's one of the best X-Men movies.
We sure are.
Slaps.
And the Guardians Holiday Special sets the stage for Guardians 3. We're going to get the High Evolutionary.
Yep. Peacemaker, shut up.
Not that character.
Oh, man. They should just have had it been him. It would have been much funnier that way.
Yeah, because the High Evolutionary is awful.
Oh, he's the worst. I mean, your name's Herbert. You must hate yourself. Herbert Wyndham is the High Evolutionary.
Do you guys hate animal cruelty? You're really going to hate this guy.
You probably won't like him a lot. He kind of sucks. So, you hate animal cruelty, don't see this movie. You love Rocket, do see this movie. But don't see this movie?
Adam Warlock is in this?
Will Poulter got absolutely yoked to play this role. Which
Big flying gold man.
Big flying gold man that speaks in riddle.
Teased in Guardians 2 at the end.
My Adam.
I get it.
Yeah.
I understood that reference. See, we've been building the Adam Warlock in the Guardians movies for quite some time.
The one of 72 post-credit scenes in Guardians 2.
Hilarious. James Gunn was like, you want some post-credit scenes?
Here's 50.
Great. I love it. I love James Gunn. I love his inexplicably white hair now.
Right. Well, he needed a defining trait as a director. He needed something to define him as a director.
We got the suits.
The
comic suits are coming in this movie.
Yep. Comic suits are here. I thought that was a really, really good addition.
New
Gamora. Yep. Frizzy hair. Good job. It just feels like the acting's going to be dialed up to 10. The emotion is going to... People are saying bring tissues to this movie. Like,
I love that.
Yeah. It just, all intents and purposes, this movie is just gearing up to be really, really incredible. And I think it's gonna mix all the good elements throughout the MCU from 2014 to Thursday night. I think it's gonna mix all of what made the Guardians, like, the first one my favorite movie, the second one, like, a more underrated movie on a rewatch, like what made them such a central part of Infinity War and Endgame, and like why they were added to Thor Love and Thunder. Like, I think it's gonna hit all those beats and really, culminate to, what could, like you said, be possibly the best trilogy in the MCU.
Yeah, I think with James Gunn heading over to DC, like, he really wants to leave his mark.
Yeah.
His final mark on Marvel.
Right.
With this movie.
Really? Is he so like how the Guardians are the first family in the MCU, is James Gunn Jack Kirby of the live action?
Could argue it.
Because I know Jack Kirby got like a lot more, like, I mean, he helped write the Fourth World. It wasn't like he was just, being Stan Lee's artist. It was like, this is Jack Kirby's Fourth World when he went over.
Yeah, you could definitely argue it. But this movie, it's one of those things, like, I had the same feeling with Black Panther, like, or Wakanda Forever, I should say, that, like, I just don't have any reservations. Like, I'm not worried.
Yeah.
And that comes back to, honestly, the directing piece. Yep. Like, Ryan Coogler, same thing. Like, you just know.
Yeah.
You just know, like, that the movie's in good hands. You know the director's not gonna just kind of cave in to, like, the Marvel machine. Like,
if anything, he's gonna revert to, like I said, what made these movies great. Yeah. And what made the first one specifically great.
Yeah, he's going to make the movie he wants to make, and that's the best compliment that I can give it. Predictions?
So, I'm going to say a couple things. I think he might try to build a new Guardians team by the end of this and leave it for somebody else to kind of take the reins of it. So, of that team, I think Rocket's going to survive this movie.
I think Rocket's also going to survive this movie.
I think they're going to do the comic. It's going to be Rocket and Gamora survive this movie. And, like, what I hope is, I hope there's, like, a Nova 2 or a Xandar 2 and then, like, the Nova Corps. And then I hope we get, a tried and true, like, Nova. So the new Guardians, hopefully it's going to be Nova. It'll be, maybe down the line, but, like, we'll get Nova. We're going to get, what's it called? Adam Warlock, Gamora, Rocket will kind of be leading that new Guardians team, and then with a couple. And I know he's crazy, so he'll pull some other characters deep from lore. So we might get I think this movie might end up with us like a new Guardians team, and then somebody else might be able to keep that team going, or just have that team be interjected into different spaces. Yeah,
I think that's pretty spot on. I also think Rocket's going to survive. I think they might actually kill Star-Lord.
I think they're going to let Star-Lord go off into the galaxy and be an old man and be like, what would be the thing that kills me of, like, what if he doesn't get Gamora at the end? Like, I mean, you're talking about a kid that grew up off, like, 70s and, like, early 80s movies. Like, what if he doesn't get the girl at the end of this? You know what I mean? Like, he doesn't get the girl. It doesn't play off the way that it's supposed to. Like, what if that just, like, and, like, he can't, and, like, that's okay. Like, that's okay, because, like, even though he doesn't get the girl, he got his family. And, like, I do think that Drax and Mantis are going to die. Just because how close their relationship is to each other. Like, I think that might pull up, like, on a whole bunch of heartstrings. So, yeah. I think both of them are gone. I think Groot's going to go, Groot's going to pull Star-Lord and might, like, go off into the sunset, like, get his own, maybe be reunited with his people at some point in this movie, too, so... Yeah, and then Nebula's a wild card for me. That's probably my biggest wild card of, like, I don't know. Generally don't know what's going to happen with her. I think it would be cool if she, like, survived and, like, her and her sister are able to, like, have a good relationship and, like, and it's the 2014 one on top of that is able to have a good relationship. Someone she didn't have that with before, so. Yeah. Yeah, I just can't wait for this movie. I think it's going to be really, really great and really, really special. And like we said, Marvel kind of needs it. So we'll see. We'll see next week what we have to say about it. And then the only other thing we have to talk about is, because we've both been doing the same thing, a little bit of Jedi Survivor talk. Yeah. Well, not spoil anything, obviously. I mean, neither of us have finished it. Right. But so I don't think any of us have. Either of us have done anything too spoilery, but still won't spoil anything because I've done a couple spoilery things. Because games are, games take longer to do than to watch a movie or a TV show. But man, it's from what I've played, I'm about 20% through it, according to my handy dandy in-game thing. Yeah, that was a nice touch. So from what I played, it's just a wild improvement on the first one in every way possible. I said this to you before we hopped on. It's just Uncharted in space. Cal Kestis has morphed into basically a Nathan Drake-esque adventurer. Yeah. And I want to talk about Cal Kestis himself as like a character. Like, again, you need to make sure when you're doing these sequels, like the first one, it's a lot of sorrow that he's having to deal with in the first one. And I mean, one of the best things too that retroactively I look at is like, he was, even though he was like, what, 18, 19, like he was a kid in that first one. Like he was a kid that didn't get to, until he meets up with the Mantis crew and like he goes through all those trials, like he didn't get to deal with Order 66. He just put it away and he just locked it away so he can survive. And I mean, maybe they should have switched the game titles. Maybe they should have called the first one Jedi Survivor and called this one Fallen Order. Right, that actually plays much better, but I digress. But yeah, this game, he's just way more like, I told you, like when I first started playing it, and like there's a moment that we both got through after like it's the end of the first mission like that you play through, and I'm like, he's starting to get to like, you know, the Arthur Morgan, Joel Miller like mold of like, you know, these characters like this Jin Sakai, like the characters that we love. Like Cal's starting to get there of like, you know, he's older, he's seen a little bit more, and like he's not having it as much as he used to as like a younger person. Like he's not having it anymore. So also Cameron Monaghan and his performance is it's great. I love how reserved it is, but it's also like you can feel like, you know, he is a survivor and like, you know, he's thriving through the surviving. Like he's trying to truthfully make something. He's trying to truthfully like change
and failing.
Yeah, he's trying to change an indifferent galaxy. Like he feels a lot where like, if this makes sense, he feels a lot like where Leia was in episode 5. Like Leia is like, you know, she's essentially the poster child of this rebellion at this point. She's General Organa at this point. Like that's who Cal is right now. Cal's like, you know, not General Kestis, but kind of like he's the one that's leading a lot of these missions. Like he's at this point, like he's the Jedi in the galaxy. Like, and I hope the live action really dives into that fact. I told you, so no spoilers for the game, but like I just feel like he would fit very seamlessly into Dave Filoni's movie. Like I just feel like him and Ahsoka together.
And I mean, we can talk about the featurette he did with Mark Hamill.
Oh. It was like the two mornings before the game came out, and I got chills that morning. Just like it was just him, like he did that first 2 moves, and I was like, just put him in live action. Like, don't make this difficult.
I mean, they put him with Hamill. You got to think they're buttering him up for something to do in live action, right?
Yeah.
Like, you don't just put him with Hamill for no reason. Even if it was like...
And it was just him just teaching him the ways. Like, you know, obviously there was, like, real stuff and joke stuff. Like, he's just, like, you know, what's this robot following you around? But, like, also, like, you know, you have to understand balance. You have to understand all these things about the...
I never got 2 lightsabers.
I never got 2 lightsabers. Like, oh, man, Cameron Monaghan in live action as like a, you know, like a 30, 40-year-old Cal Kestis with the rest of them, I think would be awesome. Because,
I agree.
So we are, because this game takes place 5 years before Obi-Wan. So what was Luke? Luke was 10 in Obi-Wan, so let's just say he's 5 by the time Jedi Survivor's taking place. Let's just say 25 for Cal to make it simple, because he's like 23, 24, so he's 25. So Luke was what? Luke was 17 when A New Hope came out, so what's that, 12-year difference? So he would be 37, and then by the time the original trilogy ends, how old was Luke? He was like in his like mid-20s maybe. So Cal's gonna be in his 40s essentially, like his, you know, mid to late 40s. Like just throw a little makeup, give him a beard, because he's got a smaller beard in the game.
I gave my Cal the big beard.
I gave him man, I don't know. I mean, you get unlocked, so like I don't think it's a spoiler to say like there's Jedi robes somewhere around, so like I don't know if I'm being influenced by Ghost of Tsushima, but I gave him like really like dark Jedi robes with like I gave him the ponytail and like I gave him the ponytail and it's something like the stubble beard to be like very like, you know.
I got right now. I kept him with the base haircut, the big full beard. And then I gave him, he's got like it's like an armor piece with a cape. Oh, okay, so you have, okay. On the back? I was rock, because until I had the Jedi robe, so the pre-order bonus gives you 3 options. It gives you the Obi-Wan, the Hermit, lightsaber and the outfit. It gives you Han Solo's outfit, and it gives you Luke's jacket from the end of A New Hope. So I've been, but what's really cool is they let you change the colors on all the things. So I changed this, I gave him like a white jacket with, like the white jacket with like the white pants, and like
I have like a white and gold lightsaber, right? It's really cool. The customization is off the charts.
It's
like
so
it's
cool.
so it feels nigh infinite the amount of customization you could do.
Yeah,
so.
they were like, "Oh, you were mad about the last thing?
Here's every customization
You can
want.
do whatever you want to this guy."
Yeah, so
That's the other thing I wanted to talk about too. Is the devs did not rest on their laurels with this game. They could have.
I don't know how they slept making this game.
They could have easily just copy and pasted the first game and made some improvements, and it probably would have been still really good.
Mm-hmm.
But man, from the customization to the traversal, to the combat to the NPC dialogue, it's astounding.
One NPC dialogue,
bro. It's incredible.
So no spoiler because it's in the trailer. There are the battle droids from
the B1 battle droids are back.
The OG battle droids. Roger,
and his friend Roger.
So there's a sequence where Cal's hanging off a cliff ready to attack him, and the battle droid's just looking out, and he's just like, man,
he's amazed by like the scenery.
Yeah, he's like, what a view.
He's like,
I could watch this forever.
He said, is that a big crater?
Is that a crater? Wow. He said, I can't wait until I give the orders and somebody else, but then I can't observe the view. And then he said, what a dilemma. And then Cal kills him, just defeats him. He's just like, dilemma solved.
These droids.
Yeah, the dialogue and the
hysterical.
The little dialogue pieces where like you're overhearing them as like when you're waiting to attack them are really good. It's really thought out and like it really dives in. Yeah,
like you know how you play like Red Dead Redemption.
Yeah,
and you come across like these random events, like a guy will get like kicked by a horse or whatever the case is. In Jedi Survivor, there's I don't know. I've come across maybe 20 of them already of these like random events. I came across like a Wampa-esque creature, just Loki slamming a stormtrooper, and then he threw the stormtrooper and he looked at me and I'm like, uh-oh. Well, it's time to knuckle up, I guess. Which kind of leads me into the combat, which buddy. Just again, they took what they did in the first game and were like, here's a million other things to do.
The finishers are absurd.
It's crazy.
It's
crazy.
And so at where I'm at in the game, again, no spoilers, but there's stances that you're gonna. So it's the Ghost of Tsushima thing. So they really took this whole stance idea that Ghost of Tsushima didn't create, but I think it really
it's a little less specialized than the Ghost of Tsushima one, because like the Ghost of Tsushima one was like you have to use this stance against this type of enemy. Where like Jedi Survivor is like, just pick two that you like best.
But you're gonna, and you'll see, and once you start to play the game, like you're gonna understand, like you do have to be a bit strategic, and like and it's more what I like about it. It's just like the stances you pick are the type of player that you are.
Yeah.
So I think that's really thought out. Skill tree is back. The skill tree is pretty cool. Man, I can't wait until we talk about this game in full. Because there's a lot. I didn't think they can go further in the powers, but man, they really do add a couple more powers to Cal.
One of my favorite things that they did in this, it's probably maybe my favorite thing that they did was the beginning of the game. It was like, here's all your stuff.
Yeah, yep.
From the first one.
Right.
They didn't do the like, you lost your powers or like you got cut off from the Force again or you lost your lightsaber. They were like, no, here's your double jump. Here's your big force slow thing. Here's your push. Here's your pull. Your lightsaber throw. Here's the double-bladed stance from the first game. Your single-bladed stance from the first game. Like, you are essentially continuing Cal's journey.
Right.
Like, you're truly continuing Cal's journey. Like, all that stuff that you earned in the first one, you still have it.
Right.
I loved it.
Yep.
Because RPG sequels do not do this.
That. No, they make you work
every
for
time. It's always some convoluted thing where like you lost your gear, or Assassin's Creed was famous for this.
Yep.
You lost all your stuff in a fire or whatever the case is. But in Jedi Survivor, they're just like, nah.
Yep.
Here's all your stuff from the first game, but then we're gonna add some more new stuff.
Right.
I love great.
Yeah, that opening sequence is probably one of the stronger opening sequences in the game, and the fact that like it gets you back in the world that you like, and that's what sequels really need to do. But it's just a strong opening for not only like the story's a strong opening for where Cal is in his life at that point. It's a strong gameplay opening, and it's a strong world opening because, again, no spoilers, but it's a world. If you're a Star Wars fan, you know exactly where you are when the game starts too. So
I love also again just building upon the first game, like that opening level. What do? They put you up against all the enemies from the first game.
Right.
Here's the stormtrooper. Mm-hmm. Here's the guy with the baton. Mm-hmm. Here's the guy with the Gatling gun. The purge trooper. Mm-hmm. You fight. It's just like that first opening level is like a Fallen Order like condensed.
Yeah, speaking of Fallen Order, the beginning of the
recap.
The recap is really good.
Yeah, they give you a little Fallen Order recap, but that first level really feels like if you haven't played Fallen Order in a long time, this is where you were. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Like these are all your powers that you had. The wall run, you got the wall run, mm-hmm. all that stuff. Like they show you all that.
The double jump, you got
they show you all that stuff. They're like, remember this stuff that you had at the end of the first game? Here it is. The double-bladed stance, the wall run, the pull, the push. All the enemies are there, like the purge troopers. Like they give you all the Fallen Order stuff.
Right.
And then they're like, but wait till you see what we have in store for you later on. And it's just really well designed. Yeah. Like at the end of the day.
Yeah, and I'm 40% through the game, so I will say I've probably, counting the first mission, I've probably been through 4 major story beats, and they've all been pretty solid. I'm a little nervous because I remember 2019, like that game just caught us off guard because we hadn't had a Star Wars game Battlefront had been the last Star Wars game, but we hadn't had a game where light bulb goes off. Like maybe the Jedi are probably one of the coolest lore beings ever. So maybe
Force Unleashed.
Right. But when did the Force Unleashed come out in the late 2000s? Yeah, like the early 2010s. That had been years since that game came out. Maybe we should just make. I feel like they walked into the room and they're one guy raised his hand. He's just like, maybe we should make a game about the Jedi again. And somebody's like, that's an idiotic idea. And somebody's like, oh wait, maybe that's probably what made us famous in the first place. So, that game understands it, but. Man, like I said, I've been through a couple major story beats. The relationships are pretty solid this game.
Oh, I just remembered what the other stance is.
Which one?
I'll talk about it off.
Oh, okay.
But when you told me that there were 2 more, I remembered what the other one was.
Right.
I'll tell you after.
Right. So
but it just hit me.
Right. But you got new stances, you can pick and choose, and I kind of have mine that I've been running through with. And there's been some really great sequences. I mean, the only thing, and you played some today, right? There was an update today. Yeah, so
it stabilized the performance stuff.
Yeah, the one major issue with the game out of the gate was it was very it wasn't that it was glitchy, it's just the frame rate was off. It would just be frame rate was not playing at 60 frames per second.
Yeah, the 60 FPS performance mode was not stable.
Yeah, but I think that's just, not an easy fix, but it was fixed, hopefully. So was it fixed? You played it after it? So looking good now. So
it still doesn't run. It's not like how Spider-Man was or Ghost of Tsushima where the 60 is stable. But it plays at 60. The frame rate drop is very minimal. So it definitely plays, but it's just not at that, It's not a stable 60, but it's stable enough that you wouldn't notice it.
Right.
Not to the degree that it was. Right. That performance mode really wasn't playable.
Yeah, it was tough. Yeah, it was tough out of the gate, but I'm looking forward to beating that game. Hopefully by the next time that we talk, then I should be done with that game by that time.
I don't know how it will be.
I just and again, is that not a good thing? Because Kobo is huge. It's so
massive.
Awesome. Yeah, it's massive. It's great to run around that world and kind of see what you can find in there. You do go back to Kobo a couple of times actually. And every time I go back to Kobo, I'm like, crap, I'm really running around this place just trying to find stuff that I didn't find a couple minutes ago or a couple missions ago. So
yeah, I'm having a blast with it. And we talked about how kind of Guardians is kind of the precursor to like this crazy movie boom over the next few months. Jedi Survivor is kind of like the first. I guess Resident Evil 4 remake was like the first kind of salvo fired in the gaming renaissance. Like
I would probably say, when did Resident Evil come out?
Beginning of March.
I would probably say it's probably Hogwarts Legacy was the first one, which was like that one was like it was the most talked about game for good or bad. It was definitely the most talked, and it was breaking like all sorts of records out of the gate. So
yeah, that's true. But you know, so it just feels like now we're in the swing of this gaming kind of boom. Also,
the game of the year, the Game Awards is going to be something this year.
Yeah,
I just feel, you know how like Sonny Soljic was with Christopher Judge. I feel like that might also come from, you know, however what happens with Spider-Man 2. Like Spider-Man 2 is still the one. I think like I just feel like they're playing it so close to the chest that like this game might be absolutely insane. Like
we're hearing. Like, these are my sources. This month is going to be PlayStation Showcase,
and we're gonna get something.
We're gonna get something.
Yeah,
100%. We're 100% gonna get. Yeah,
that
something.
Game's coming out in September, right?
Yeah, we're
getting there. It's crazy to say, but it's May. It's May, so May, June, July, August. Like we're 5 months away from Spider-Man, so
we're gonna get something for Spider-Man in May. Man, yeah, I can't wait. Like I'm gonna be deep in this game until like probably the middle of May.
Yeah.
And then it's like a holdover, and then Final Fantasy 16, and then I'm gonna hold over, and then it's Spider-Man. So.
Yeah. You're not gonna be able to contact me when Spider-Man comes out. I will be unavailable when that game comes out.
I can't wait. But for now, Jedi Survivor, it's been great. It's been a great experience. I can't wait to dive in and do more with it and that's the best thing I can say about an open world game is like I want to go back to it. You know,
right?
I finish doing what I'm doing at night, and then the next day comes, and I'm like, man, I can't wait to get back.
Yeah, that's how I feel
world
right now. Actually, that's how I feel.
Yeah. So, on that note, that is going to do it for us this week. You can find us on Twitter at @ProjectINF_pod. You can find us on Facebook at Project Infinite Podcast. You can follow us on Instagram
at the Project Infinite Pod.
Thank you very much. New episodes are up every Wednesday or Thursday. Next week is obviously going to be Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3. Big review. Our world famous review episode.
Yeah.
So we're going to do Guardians 3 in full. Plot, characters, dialogue, music, all the stuff you love. Post-credit scenes. The future of Marvel. Are they dead? Will we get to next Monday and be like, that's it?
Yeah.
They're done.
Yep.
The Marvels was canceled?
Yeah. Clean house.
They canceled the Marvels and they just ended the universe right there. No, it's not going to be that dire, but we'll definitely talk about what's next. Man, I think that's it, right?
That is it.
That's it. All right. From me, from the...
Careful.
Rocket Raccoon of the podcast?
Don't know how I feel about it, but we're here.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll go with that.
Sure.
Rocket's great.
You'll go with that.
What's wrong with Rocket?
No, Rocket's great. But which Rocket?
Endgame Rocket?
Okay.
The definitive Rocket?
I'll take it.
Actually, specifically Rocket from the deleted scene of Endgame where he's making fun of them for not being able to kill the
the Chitauri?
The Chitauri. When he's like, they're the easiest
army in the... So you just have to take out the mothership. He said, we didn't know that when we were fighting them. And he just started, didn't know that? Keep it in, Russo's.
That Rocket particularly.
Okay. I'm back. I'm thinking I'm back.
All right. So from me, from you, we will see you next week for Guardians 3. Goodbye.
Peace.